It's time for Liberty Today. On today's show, we'll examine the problems with America's entertainment, morals, and political culture. Bob Ellis, Pastor Troy Carr, and Sam Kephart are all here to offer solutions with a common theme. Find out what that is and more now on Liberty Today.
Our mission here at Liberty Today is to inform, educate, and activate, but sometimes, Bob Ellis, we want to entertain just a little bit. Well, today we're going to talk with Bob about entertainment in America. When you and I were growing up, I remember the first television I saw was a black and white television, and the screen was about that big. We went to the neighbor's house to watch it, and it was years before we owned our own television. But that was kind of my introduction to entertainment. Where have we come?
We've come a long way from those black and white TV sets and the values that were typically displayed on those TV sets and in the movies in general to what we have now. I remember back in the late 80s when I went overseas for 3 years. I was in the military. I left the United States in 1987, early 1987, and didn't come home until early 1990. And the only thing I saw in the meantime were a few videotape shows that people would send to me. Didn't see a whole lot of the commercials and didn't see a lot of the sitcoms and things. When I came back to the States, there were words on primetime television that were being used that, you know, you would have expected those from an R-rated movie on the big screen when I left.
Well, do you remember the television censors? These guys were sitting with a buzzer, and if somebody, they had like a 7-second delay, and if someone used inappropriate language, the national censor would bleep the word. Do you remember that?
It was a little before my time, but I've heard of it.
Well, it was back, you know, just after Abraham Lincoln, about the time I came on the scene. But then that went away, and there was a time, I remember as you do, I'm sure, Elvis Presley on television the first time, and during those days, they would only show him from the waist up because he had some gyrations going on. Now, for heaven's sakes, open frontal nudity is okay on television.
Yeah, and all sorts of language and violence and general bad examples of behavior.
So, what's the solution to all of the vile entertainment that we see in every form of media, television, movies, internet? What's the solution? How do we clean it up, Bob?
I don't think there's an easy solution to it. We've been losing a lot of ground, actually. It wasn't too long ago that there was a court decision, don't remember the details, but a court decision that came out and basically paved the way for even more gratuitous smut, if you will, on television, and we're already starting to see that. I've noticed a degradation and a change just in the last year. I think in order to really turn that back and make a change, like anything in a free society, in a free market society, there's the law of supply and demand. As long as there's a demand for it, some people are going to be very eager to supply it.
Well, and unfortunately, there's no shortage of money to be made in the smut industry. There are people making billions of dollars with pornography, and that pornography has a way of leading people down a pathway of destruction.
Yeah.
And I won't go into all of that, but just it seems to me, Bob, that the way we're going to change that, the way we're going to turn the tide, is for a revival of people of faith who are coming before God and pleading with the throne of heaven to turn this nation back toward the things of God.
That's really what it comes down to. Getting back to that supply and demand that I mentioned, the people are going to have to stop demanding that. They're going to have to start looking for it, and the only way that's going to happen is if there's a true change of heart. You know, we've already had a couple of great awakenings in our country's history, and I think we're overdue for another one.
It sure seems like it right now. If you name the name of Jesus publicly, openly, you are the subject of incredible ridicule and slander as being someone who over gods, or
Yeah.
someone who's a religious wacko. Well, Bob, you and I know that serving the Master of the Universe is not a radical thing.
No.
It's a reasonable thing.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's the only thing that makes logical sense. You know, what really gets me is not so much the atheists and people that reject our Christian values as the people who kind of give a nod to them, but yet don't take them seriously. I mean, if you're going to align yourself with a set of beliefs that, according to what those beliefs say in their documentation, should affect everything in your life, does it really make any sense that you just give it a nod for an hour once a week, if that? Or does it make more sense that if it really has everything to do with your life here on this earth and your life in eternity to come, that you not get serious about it?
You know, and when we're talking about entertainment, there's a lack of wisdom, really, in the terrible stuff we see splashed all over in front of us. And certainly we'd say there's a lack of wisdom in the halls of Congress. Proverbs gives us the solution. It says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.